Hello, how's it going? And welcome back to another Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League video. If I'm talking Suicide Squad, you know that content is on the way, and that, my friends, is the topic of today's video. Today, we're diving into everything coming in episode 2, when it launches and what you need to know heading into it. But before we give those deets, may I ask, if you are looking to stay up to date on Suicide Squad, I'll be live streaming at the beginning of episode 2 as soon as it's available. I'll be making a season 2 guide and a build or two, I am sure. So if you're looking to stay up to date, please do consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. Right, let's dive in, shall we? So episode 2 is the second part of season 1. I'm not going to drag this video out. I'm here to respect your time. So let's get into the big essentials. First of all, episode 2 is going to be dropping on May 23rd, which is a Thursday, the same weekday as episode 1. Remember, episode 2 is not season 2. Rocksteady announced that all seasons would be 2 episodes, each episode being a length of 6 weeks, which makes this season a little late, but game development is hard. And what's even harder is developing a live service game. So for me, there's no real issue with this being 2 weeks late max. So, episode 2 is going to be titled Duality. Here's what we know is going to be included in it. First of all, we're getting a brand new boss fight in the Superman variant of Brainiac, which I would imagine will be a reskin to a degree of the boss fight we had in the main game, if the Green Lantern fight from episode 1 is anything to go by, though that did have some new attacks and mechanics to a degree, so yeah, there's that, let's see. We're also going to be getting new enemy types. We've had both the Flash and Batman infused enemies, Batman enemies being invisible and the Flash being rapid. Now we've got Green Lantern based enemies which are going to be able to do 2 things. Summon Green Lantern constructs and also be immune to all direct damage until those constructs have been destroyed, which we've actually had a preview of those in the helicopters that fly around Metropolis that are already in the game. We're also getting some brand new loot, and I'd argue loot is probably some of the biggest changes that's coming in episode 2. First of all, a new Infamy set inspired by Two-Face, and last week Rocksteady gave us a preview of his tier 1 set. It looks as though he's going to be all about the crit damage, which from other Deadshot mains out there, we're going to be cooking. One of the main features of this Infamy set is the term Punish. I assume working similar to Fear from episode 1, it's not an affliction but an effect that you can put on enemies. Punished enemies will receive an extra 50% critical hit damage, and each firearm hit on punished enemies has a 50% crit hit chance if they're burning. Hello there, Joker mains. I won't dive deep into the tier 1 gear set. Check out Rocksteady's latest dev update for that. We're also going to be getting Black Manta Notorious weapons, which, come on man, you know I need him in this game, please. Such a cool character. And finally, Reverse Flash Notorious melee items. That's not where the loot changes stop though. First of all, Rocksteady are addressing a key community complaint in that mayhem missions, i.e. boss fight missions, are essentially pointless. What they're doing is introducing corrupted loot. So now upon completion, you can be rewarded this new corrupted loot. The corrupted aspect is that you'll be dropping notorious loot from that episode, but with an intrinsic trait. So when explaining it, Rocksteady used Firefly's Firestorm grenades as an example. The normal grenade would set all enemies on fire and increase the blast radius by 50% up to 200% for each enemy burned. The corrupted version, instead of increasing the blast radius, does the same up to 200% but for damage instead of the radius, which is cool. It's nice to have something to play for when fighting the boss, and it does make rerunning the boss a lot more worth it. Let's see how worthwhile the corrupted versions are when you're actually playing the game though. The next big change is master versions of weapons. Previously, you'd have your normal weapon and then your master version. Now there's going to be 5 master versions for both Infamy and Notorious loot. This change has been made because of the reworks to mastery levels, but essentially, Master 1 will be craftable and the other 4 master levels of weapons will be earned the higher mastery level you go, though there's no specifics on what exact master levels you need to be for each master version of a weapon. The final loot change is that Infamy loot sets are no longer being kept or tied to mastery levels, i.e. you had to play at mastery level 24 to unlock tier 3 loot sets. From now on, Tier 1, 2 and 3 of Infamy loot sets will all have a chance of dropping from Mastery Level 1 incursions, hence why there's now 5 tiers of Master versions of weapons. I know that's a lot of Masters and Masteries, hopefully that all makes sense. They've also reworked how the tiers of Infamy sets will work. Tier 1 was always designed around an accessible playstyle for all, whereas Tier 3 was always like a glass cannon kind of build, so you can do really high damage, but it's very easy to be downed by enemies. Again, cool change. I'm excited to see this in action so that it's not a very predictable pattern in terms of, oh, I'm going to go for Tier 1 or Tier 2. Mixing it up is a nice way to surprise the player. That does bring us to mastery levels. First up, progression changes. From episode 2 onwards, the highest mastery level of a mission you've unlocked is now +5 of the average of your highest 3 incursions you've completed. So, for example, let's say your 3 highest mastery levels are all at mastery level 5. So you completed 3 different incursions at mastery level 5. Next time you go to an incursion, you'll be able to play that incursion at mastery level 10. A good change this, I think, since this will make the slog of mastery levels much more bearable. You'll be able to get through it a lot easier. I voiced my own concerns and issues with how mastery levels work and function as an endgame, but as a quality of life change, I think this is good stuff. Especially since you can already pick your 3 favourites rather than doing the ones that you don't like doing. Brute and Tank mission. I bloody hate that one, man. Moving on. In episode 2, we're getting what is known as an out-of-orbit mission. The idea here is Brainiac is going to be assaulting 2 Justice League watchtowers at once. I think this actually sounds pretty sick. So you're going to be swapping between dimensions, hopping from one to the other. Enemies in the other dimension can't be harmed, so it looks as though you're going to be having to take enemies out as quick as possible, swapping dimensions, taking those out and going back and forth to keep both watchtowers safe. Rocksteady noted that the watchtowers will have their own defences. I'm keen to see whether that's going to be helping us or working against us. I am really hoping though that the feel of this mission feels different. I always talk about it, even though we'll be always doing the same thing, make it feel different, whether that be mechanical, environmental, or the objective. Like I say though, I'm keen to see this and I always welcome more mission types. Last, but definitely not least, let's talk quality of life. And I used to pray for times like this. We're finally getting a post-mission item dismantler. If you played enough of this game in Season 1, you no doubt spent more time in menus dismantling to keep your inventory from being full than you did actually playing the game at times. But in Episode 2, no more. Straight from the mission reward screen, you can now dismantle any weapons that you got as a reward that you do not want to keep. That means no more full inventories just creeping up on you all the time. Right alongside that, at the top of great quality of life changes is just chef's kiss, a mutator rework. Gone is the PTSD of the Boom Mutator. Mutators, instead of being debuffs or things that go against you, they're now buffs and surges. No longer are they a hindrance to your playstyles, but actually an enhancer. Mutators are being reworked to gameplay bonuses, like one combo for every crit hit on a burning enemy, which is now known as Extra Fries. I love that name, it's just a funny name, isn't it? It's a huge change, it's really welcome. Good job for listening, Rocksteady, because a lot of these things are just community complaints, so good job for addressing them, which in a very small timeline, like I say, games take a long time to make, changes can take a while. Good job for listening on a lot of these. Is it perfect? No. But changes for the better, I'll always welcome that. We're also getting new invasion levels, i.e. harder difficulties for enemies in the base metropolis. We're getting more crafting recipes and the ability to craft master level 1 items, lower Prometheum costs for doing incursions, and new incursion mission mechanics. So the idea of this is Lex 2 is analysing weaknesses of enemies in the incursions that we're going into. Again, this is going to actually apply buffs. So the examples given here was that burn enemies are going to take double damage from all sources, or crit hits are doing 150% extra damage in certain incursions. Again, in episode 2 we're getting buffs left, right and centre. So the idea of build crafting really is there now. and we're not being tied down to a minor number of builds. Oh, and we're also getting an ever-changing Metropolis though. This reminds me of Strongholds in that I have no idea what they actually mean. Maybe some new incursion locations, or we're getting more phased in aspects from Joker's Elseworld into our Metropolis. But that is everything coming in episode 2 of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Are you excited? Are you hopeful? Are you unmoved? Let's talk in the comments down below, but man, please, just be civil. I'm just here to talk video games. Like I say, I'll be live streaming the update on Thursday. I'll have videos out in the days after, so if you are looking to stay up to date, please do consider subscribing. Other than that, the best way to support me is dropping a like on the video because I just really appreciate it. Other than that, I hope you have a terrific day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Waller out.